Welcome to another Zoom. Yes,
Yes.
I have my
I'm
wife
here.
next to me today.
Uh-huh.
We have two special guests, so to kind of balance the screen out, man, wife, man, wife. Right now, we're going to go to prayer. The two that we're going to be interviewing are extremely good friends. The one guy is especially 30 years friend. But we're going to talk to the Lord before this. It's a subject that
Yeah.
you need to hear every word
Yes.
from Lynn, that's her name, and her husband. I may have to introduce him in another way in just a little while. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Father God, thank you for your presence. Thank you for this day that we can introduce to many people a subject that they may be unaware how prevalent, how demonic this subject really is. We think about $150 billion made off of the industry that we're going to be talking about today. And I pray that every viewer will listen to every word and learn from today as you have never learned before. Thank you for watching. God bless you. Now, my two dear friends. First of all, Lionel. He is a 30-year friend. And Lynn, his wife, she has been appearing with us. I think this is the second time, right, Lynn?
Correct.
And you guys are in New York, New York. Lionel,
New York, a town so nice they named it
Twice.
Oh no, honey, the joke is don't ever step on a joke.
Okay.
tell me about Lionel Nation. I'm not going to go. You have so many accolades. He's worldwide.
Yeah.
I see him on European stations, television. Lionel Nation, give me a synopsis. What is it?
Very simply, I'm a legal and media analyst. I'm a commentator about what's going on in the world politically, and that's it. And I let the situation define me, whatever needs to be done. If it's spiritual, if it's religious, if it's legal, if it's anything. Remember what Breitbart said, that I think is interesting, that politics is downstream from entertainment. And if you really want to see what's going on to our culture, you know, Gandhi said, if you want to see what a country is like, look how they treat their animals.
Right.
But just look how we enjoy ourselves, to see the level of depravity and just demented, as you say, demonic, which I did not believe in before, but I'm becoming an ardent believer now. So anyway, anything and everything.
We met when you were the top guy at WFLA Tampa, 97, not right, 97 on the AM dial. The same place Rush Limbaugh, he passed away. By the way, today is the anniversary of his passing.
1 year.
And I knew him, by the way, very well, because when I went to WABC, he was on our same floor. You should see him every day.
Wow.
And he was one of the nicest, shyest. I don't know if he was, and it's funny you say that. I don't know whether, I don't want to take up time here,
No, it's fine.
but I don't know whether we could have had Rush Limbaugh today. And I don't know whether Rush Limbaugh even is relevant today, because he was more of like a paleo conservative. Because today what we're seeing is, we're seeing left and right, we're seeing the planet Earth against a shadow government force that has no direction.
Yeah.
I know that sounds, this defies anything. One more thing, we are finding, and my wife will tell you this, that we are joining forces with the religious community of all types, the believe it or not, and this may sound, the gay community, who doesn't understand what's going on right now, Democrats, true liberals, classic Jeffersonian liberals, people who believed in no war. And we're finding, talk about strange bedfellows, politics against this force that does not have a name. And it's not left and right, it's not Democrat, Republican. Yeah. You have Joe Biden, who is an animatronic, basically an auto pen, this senescent dotard who was just filling in the blanks.
Where am I?
And,
Where
and
am I?
I've never seen anything like this.
That's right.
Yeah.
Lynn's Warriors. Tell me about it.
Well, my mission is educating the public, raising awareness with the public, and providing easy solutions and resources, because the human trafficking, all forms of human trafficking, it is so overwhelming that people will not listen. They'll turn it off. If it doesn't happen to them, they'll
Yeah.
just disregard it. So
Right.
what we do at the Warriors, we simply start talking about digital safety, because we learned through the pandemic that most of this, going after kids, going after all people, is happening online. So the best thing I can do is go into homes and communities, start at that level, go into churches and synagogues, go into schools, and simply we live in a 24/7 digital world. It's not going away. It's only going to get worse, but let's stay in the positive and let's learn to deal with it. So I go in and teach what to look for. Here are free resources. Let's talk about it. But the one thing I have to stress is that parents, grandparents, family members, everybody has to start really communicating together, because this truly isn't evil. And I'm not going to sit here and rattle off every study and statistic I know. You would be horrified. It is such a force of horrible in it. It's so horrible. I can't even describe it. And it's happening. Nobody is exempt. It's in every town, city, and rural area in America. So we have to all get on board, start communicating with the kids and families. Digital safety. That's the start of helping to end what's going on.
It's something that at our age, we never had to worry about the digital part, which is you're not able to really watch your child all the time. They got their phones in their hand all the time. They're on the computer all the time.
Right.
How in the world are you knowing that the child is doing this? Or
You bring up a great point. Just let's go back to what the theme of this is. One of the most beautiful parts, I believe, about the gospel and the scripture is the economy of the message, and not in terms of the brevity, but how it makes sense. What you do to the least of your brethren, you do to me. If you're not, if you are treating people disrespectfully, inhumanely, you're basically doing the same thing to God or Christ or however you want to do it. There is no more a vulnerable faction on this planet than children. They're born helpless. Think about this. We're the only animal that is born not able to walk around and move, and our head has to grow. We are from the moment we hit air, we are completely vulnerable. There is a genocide that's going on right now. This has nothing to do with right to life. There is an absolute eugenics genocide going on in terms of abortion. Okay.
Lynn, we're talking about 150, probably more than that, $1 billion industry.
Well, Herman, that figure goes back, pre-pandemic. That goes back to 2018. They were quoting that. We do know through the studies we have that media doesn't talk about. Remember, it's a dark subject, so the figures are even off a little bit, but let's assume they're in the right ball field. I would say, believe it or not, much more, double. I would say double, because that 150 billion we hear that constantly. That was 2018. I was hearing that. Okay. These figures are off, and we don't have the new exact figures.
Can you give us an idea? How is the money made? I mean, are they selling? Are they buying sex? What is the industry? What does it mean?
Right. Well, we have to remember
all of this money.
Right. We have to remember, wherever there is money to be made, you're going to find predators, criminals. That's step number one. Always follow the money. Right now, we have several different issues. One of the biggest issues is our border. We have the cartels trafficking in people. Now, I'm not talking smuggling. I'm talking trafficking, where they're bringing over groups of children, groups of women and men and boys. We have to always include them. We don't talk about them a lot. Yes. They're right there too. And they are bringing them over and trafficking these people and selling them actually throughout the United States. So that's step one. Step two, online, and this is much easier than trafficking actual human beings. They are going after our vulnerable children. That's a whole nother program, an issue. Why are our kids so vulnerable? Why are they willing? We know that 40% of 9 to 17-year-olds share nudes of themselves with strangers.
Yes.
We know this. So we know that that's a vulnerability. And it starts with, perhaps as an example, you think it's a friend, then it's you're pretty. Oh, do you want to meet me? It's happening online. And what happens online, once, for instance, a nude image, okay? And it's funny because the kids will always say to me, like, I thought it was wrong, but I did it anyway. Okay, so they think they're talking. And that's the other thing. They don't understand this is opening your front door to the world, the internet. It's not your friend. They give this image. Now that person takes the image. This is where all the money's being made, billions and billions of dollars. That other person will take that image, retweet it, share it, upload it to porn sites, makes money
just
from
the
it.
image.
An image of a nude child, as an example.
But by the way, just so that we clarify this, a young child is talking on Snapchat or something, which they believe to be this momentary capture. The whole notion of Snapchat is whatever I present to you,
right.
It disappears. Well, there's a way around this. Let's say there's a young boy who thinks he's talking to a young girl, and they are talking. And again, children do not have that executive part of the brain of judgment and what's right or wrong. They don't know what they're doing. Maybe this person that they think is a young girl asks him to perform something, do an act or something, and record it. What we are hearing right now is the next day or shortly thereafter, parents are being called and saying, did you know your child is on Twitter? Or not the dark web that nobody can get to, but is available. This child now realizes they're the laughing stock. They're considering and have contemplated suicide. Here's the best part. Don't you think, Herman and Sharron, that if a parent were to call up a social media platform and say, you have illegal, not child pornography, but CSAM, child sexual abuse material, which is basically a crime scene, and you're providing a platform for that, take it down. Don't you think there would be this immediate mechanism by which they would expurgate or filter that out? No, it's there for years, and most probably forever. You tell me how that's fair. But if you were to say something pro-Trump, something about hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin, or something that does not comport with the current, COVID language du jour, you're immediately removed. There's algorithms to fight political messaging, but not a child.
Are they
Parents
are they making money from it? The reason they don't pull it immediate?
Big tech is behind. Big tech is our government is running everything.
Pornhub. Name some of the play.
Well, you've got, Pornhub, and Pornhub is part of 100 porn companies across the world. And a lot of these servers, most of the servers are in foreign countries. But a crime against a child is a crime. We have laws against this, yet they're flourishing. They're rampant on every single platform we all use. There are no exceptions. They are available if you know where to look. So what do? Sharron, you brought up a good point. We didn't grow up either with the internet or any of this. We have to educate parents, grandparents, again, all family members. It has to be a community effort to get in there. And there is help. There are resources for free. I have friends, you can email them tech-wise. How do I fix a router in my house? How do I put the PIN number, on a streaming service? I can't figure it out because a lot of people tell me it's difficult to figure out how to do these safety filters. So they abandon it. It's a crisis. We cannot abandon anything because
you have at Lynn's Warriors.
Yes, I have everything.
At lynswarriors.org, through the great work of Chris McKenna and others, which is spelled out there.
Yes.
You as a parent can get hands-on information as to how to affect the router to make your child's instruments and devices porn proof. After all, you're buying them, you own them.
That's what I always say. And also, I mean, there's great, it's protectyoungeyes.com is a great site. You have to sign up for newsletters as parents and grandparents and see what the landscape is. There is also defendyoungminds.com. Kristen Jensen, this is about the porn. This is a terrible problem. She has created a couple of picture books. You have to start at age 3 because it is so rampant. I can't explain how dire this situation is and the money being made. And there really is no help, you know? So we have to become the warriors. That's why I formed the Warriors.
What did you say, Sharon? I'm sorry.
I said they're teaching it in schools. I just read yesterday.
Yes.
They're teaching our young children, like you say, 3 years old, you know.
I mean, age appropriate. You have to start getting them used to this. I don't want to say new world because we're here. And the most frightening thing I want to share is right now we're in Web 2.0. So it was described to me yesterday as Web 1.0 was just the creation of the internet and websites, you know, www, all that stuff. Okay, we're in Web 2.0 right now, social media. We are now entering the phase of Web 3.0. And this is where I am so scared for our children and for all people. That will be a virtual reality world where anybody can own their own chunk of the internet. So if we have all these problems going on right now with this CSAM, which is child sexual abuse material online on every platform, what's going to happen? There are no regulations when you get into virtual reality, nothing. It's very frightening. We have to take action now.
I've never heard of this before.
Yes. See, well, the media doesn't share it with you. I work on the local level here in New York City, the New York State level, and also hand in hand with Washington, D.C. So we do have a lot going on. And I want to remind everybody, these are human rights abuses, crimes perpetrated on our children and all people. Bipartisan, belongs to no political party. We all have to get on board and collaborate and come together. So for instance, a very exciting thing happened a week ago today, February 10th, and it's called the Earn It Act in Washington. And what that is holding big tech accountable for all of these issues we're talking about, CSAM, child sexual abuse material on their platforms, okay? And it passed out through House Judiciary, which means it has one more vote in the Senate to be passed into law. But what's happening with this, media didn't cover this. This is groundbreaking legislation. It's a first step to really starting to curb and hold big tech accountable. What will you find if you research Earn It Act? You will find nothing but lies, misrepresentations, outright, because it is affecting the bottom line, the dollar. So big tech isn't going to come out and say we're allowing child rape on our platforms, which they are. That is the extreme. That is it. I don't like to say that, but they're going to say, no, this is going to take away your privacy. This is going to,
This is going to affect
you can talk on that legally,
and
but you don't hear any of this. Nobody's explaining. So the Warriors, along with 258 other organizations, bipartisan, we've been working almost 3 years now on this, along with Senator Lindsey Graham and Senator Richard Blumenthal, you know, opposite sides doing tremendous amount of work on behalf of our children. And one more thing I want to point out, you know, we have to come together on these issues. We cannot, you know, say, I didn't like Richard Blumenthal for something he did 2 years ago or this. We have to separate it out. If it's good for the children, if it's good for our families, that's what we have to stand up for.
I agree.
Do you see us winning or losing right now?
losing.
Losing.
Absolutely, absolutely losing. I don't like to say that, but that is why, again, it's important to start in your own home and getting a handle on this.
Let me just throw something out. We're not that far apart in terms of age, but when we used to use the term pornography, there was a time when we thought that Elvis's hips, you know, or this, and then maybe Playboy, and then the dirty channels and French postcards. There's always been a kind of every iteration of generations have had their moment. This is something completely different. They are taking infant children. Let me explain something. I don't want to get too, I want to be as brutally honest without being totally disgusting, but it's the truth. Herman and Sharron, there are parts of the world where children are born without birth certificates. Nobody knows who they are. There are parents at levels of poverty where they will sell everything up to and including their children. There is available right now every conceivable permutation of depravity involving children. This is not Hugh Hefner. This is not Playboy. This is not adults. We're talking something strange. Let me ask you one more thing too. I believe we are First Amendment absolutist. I am. What if I were to say I have a device right now? It's a robot with artificial intelligence. Remember, a robot you program, but artificial intelligence programs you. And I have this doll that looks absolutely human. The skin feels human. It blushes. You can see goosebumps. The eyes will track you. It will learn of you. But it's an infant. It's not a human being, but it's an infant. And I'm selling this so that people can do what they want. Are you going to now advocate passing a law that would prevent somebody from buying something because of what they think it is? Because now we're getting into the thought police. And that is, remember what I've always said, the law always lags behind technology. There are brothels in Japan with robots. Now people would say, well, that's good. You know, sometimes they say no dog or no animal was harmed. No human was harmed. We're getting into then the metaverse. Take a child who was, let's say, on psychiatric medication, somebody who's very upset. Let them put this world, this device, this Oculus headpiece on, where they are transported into another dimension, where they are themselves molested via what they believe to be true. I'll go one more step. This will really blow your mind. As we become more and more connected to machines and a computer gets a virus, that virus can then be transported through us, into us, actually reworking and rewiring the human brain. We're talking about levels of predation that it's almost hard to get your hands around it. We're not there yet, but thanks to my wife and people who work on this 24/7, they're doing all of the homework that people don't have the time to do, or frankly, the stomach to proceed with.
Lynn, will you make this available because we're going to have all your information on the screen.
Yes, well, that's my newsletter, which I send out weekly. And you can go to lynswarriors.org and just sign up. It's right there on the right side, scroll down.
This has information that is vital.
Oh, and I could write another 50 pages because I receive so much information on a daily basis coming into me. You know, this normalization of this sexualization of our children and all of society kind of thing. And I do want to point out one other thing. I work with a lot of survivors and victims of human trafficking. There's a very big push in New York State right now for the full decriminalization of the sex trade, but that's going to sweep the United States.
Wow.
And Lionel can speak technically what that is because I would go on for 5 hours about it. The demand is for children.
4 minutes left.
Okay, the demand is for children, not for teenagers, not for women and men, for children. The younger, the better. And that is the most frightening thing.
There were many of us in the old days, Herman and Sharron, who would consider ourselves libertarians. And we would say, there should be no law that prevents a woman from contracting with her body. After all, it's her body. And who are we to say what isn't? And that sounded great. You know, people would say, yeah, you know, we should maybe repeal prostitution laws because who are we to say, okay, fine. Well, what they did was they forgot one thing. There is no such thing as an independent contractor prostitute. There is no such thing. There's always the pimp. And the pimp is human trafficking. So what they're doing is they are decriminalizing, not prostitution, but human trafficking through the pimping. It's basically a pro-pimp statute.
Yes.
And nobody ever forgets that. And in conclusion, if you've ever been bothered by Airbnb, somebody down the street from you in New York, we have apartments, and well, imagine Airbnb brothels, because remember, there's nothing illegal with it anymore. Nothing. So it's happening at every level of society.
Is
So
slavery.
beware and be armed.
Right? It's slavery in the USA today.
Biggest,
Precisely.
the most slavery ever is happening right now in the United States.
And movies like Pretty Woman and others, the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, those who
Doesn't
kind of
exist.
they kind of romanticize these Miss Kitty and Gunsmoke. We know what she did, you know. Well, let me tell you something. That is fiction. These women today are trafficked, and the number of people in New York who come in this country thinking they're about to embark on either a modeling career or finance, whose passports are taken and they're immediately sold into slave labor. It's happening right now.
Lynn, the 1-800 numbers on your letter here.
Yes, everything is there, but also lynswarriors.org. You'll find everything on there and lots of good, I want to stress, free resources that people need. I'm all about free, giving it out to the community to make it easy on everybody.
How is that organization supported?
Lynn's Warriors,
Correct.
private donations.
You have
No government, no government.
No, I'm all private donations, no government red tape. I don't want to be,
501c3.
yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes. A 501c3. Yes. And our money goes into, we have a new education program, which will now be, since we're opening up from COVID, get out into the school systems, New Jersey, Long Island, across New York, and also supporting survivors. There are never enough resources, government money to help them buy food or buy medication or transportation. So we work hand in hand with them to help them also.
How did you become so passionate about this?
I literally woke up one day knowing all of this crime was happening after I had a client I was doing a PR for in marketing who wrote a book about domestic violence. And in doing the research and helping her, it touched upon human trafficking. And that was just a couple of years ago. And I could not believe right here in the United States, because we always hear about the other countries, that this was happening and so prevalent. And also the demand for children. And I was shocked. And I literally woke up one day and said, I have to become a warrior at this point in my life and get out there and share with everybody and educate. It's my mission.
I know you, in your letter, I just read it a while ago. It said, if you can reach one person,
That's it.
you felt you have done your job for that day. So
Every day, just one.
Yes.
That's it.
Hopefully today,
Yes.
potentially we have 11 million, potentially, whatever that means, watching. But we have reached, hopefully, thousands of people that were unaware that this was actually happening. We have about 30 seconds. Say something that will hook them.
Well, first, I want to say thank you for having us and for raising awareness and spreading messaging, because this is what is needed to help people. And I'm
Good.
so thankful for both of you having us on today to talk about the horrors of human trafficking happening right here in our own backyards.
God bless. Thank you for watching. God bless.
Thank you.
You.